All right, joined right now is undefeated UFC bantamweight Jack Shore. Tank, what's going on?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Feeling ready. So fingers crossed we get it done this time.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to kick it off with some topics, in the bantamweight division. UFC 259, I know you were watching that fight, the title fight between Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan. Sterling won the bantamweight title via DQ. What did you think of the whole illegal knee ordeal and the belt changing hands?
Yeah, it was a crazy one, wasn't it? Aljamain started so strong, and then it looked as if Yan was going to come on and get him out of there late, and then that one mistake sort of cost him it all. I mean, it's a difficult situation. Obviously, I don't think for a minute that Aljamain was sort of faking or anything like that. I think he was genuinely hurt, and I'm surprised they put it on him to decide if he wanted to continue or not, because I feel like the ref should have made the call, the ref and the doctor, because most fighters are gonna say they can carry on. But it's one of them. I mean, you don't ever want to see someone win the belt by DQ, but at the same time, if you bring in a rule that you can't win the belt by DQ, who's to stop a champion who's losing 4 rounds getting himself disqualified on purpose in the 5th? So it's a tough situation, definitely. I mean, the only real answer I can think of would be let's just run it back as soon as they can, and forget the first fight even happened.
I think one of the biggest questions coming out of that was, do the fans know the rules? And it seemed like most people didn't know the rules.
No, I mean, it was a strange one. Like the grounded situation, it's been a little bit chopped and changed the last few years, so I can see why people get confused. But if I was Peter Yan, I'd think in a fight that I'm about to win, I think maybe it's best to play it safe than sorry. Why take the risk when the guy's looking like you're going to get him finished anyway? But when you're in a fight and emotions are running and your adrenaline's running, sometimes that split second you got to think, you don't always make the right decision. And then unfortunately it did cost Yan. But like you said, there needs to be some clarity over the rules, and I also think they need to look at, they shouldn't have the decision be left in the fighter's hands, in my opinion. The ref should make the call, the doctor should make the call, and that should be it. Because if someone did that to me, I no matter how hurt I am, I'm probably going to say, look, I continue whether I can continue or not. So it is a tough one, but it's a 1 in 1,000 chance that that's ever going to happen in a fight. But like you said, these things need to be cleared up for when they do happen. There is clarity on it.
Yeah, it was a historic moment. There has never been a UFC title that has changed hands via DQ. Yeah. So hopefully that never happens again and the referees take control. It is a bad situation for Aljamain, because he seems like he's eating a lot of shit basically for winning the belt.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of hate, and I mean, I don't really get it. I mean, understand, I know I can see it's why people are a bit annoyed, there's pictures of him with the belt and stuff, and I do get that. You can't say in the octagon, you don't want the belt, and you don't, you chuck the belt on the floor, and then there's pictures of you with the belt at an after party. But then I know he's come out and said his family sort of made him open the belt. But look, it is what it is. I doubt he's really that bothered deep down. I wouldn't be. I mean, look, Yan ultimately made the mistake, not Aljamain. Just because people could argue that he could have continued doesn't mean that what Yan did was legal. It was an illegal shot, and at the end of the day, if you throw an illegal shot, you've got to sort of be ready to deal with the consequence. Sometimes there's a point deduction. Unfortunately, sometimes there's a DQ. But I'm sure Yan will make the same mistake twice, and if they do fight again, I don't see it ending in a DQ.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll be careful. Now, another big name, that's been thrown in the mix in the bantamweight division now is TJ Dillashaw. He's coming back after being suspended for cheating, and he's getting a top 3 guy in Corey Sandhagen. Are you bothered by that somewhat?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they didn't put him straight in for the title, because I think if they did that, it would have been almost insulting to some of the other top contenders, in the sense, the guy has just been banned for 2 years for cheating, and then, now we're going to chuck him straight in for the title. What does that prove to anyone? If anything, it's almost as if he's been rewarded for being banned for blood doping. And I mean, I get it, some people take a supplement, they don't know what they're taking, and they take a fat burner or something like that they think is fine to take, and then they end up getting popped. But for him to openly come out and admit to blood doping to help him make weight and whatever, it's tough to get behind him after something like that. For me, he'll always be a cheater, and it just sort of makes you think, was he doing it before and just never got caught? Because with some of the tests, I think it was only certain blood tests can test. And I think it was actually the commission that caught him, not USADA. So, I mean, it's a tough one. I'm a fan of watching TJ and his style, but at least they've given him a stern, tough test to come back. It would have been a little bit annoying just to see him jump straight in for the belt. But, I mean, they're going to be on him now like dogs, as far as the testing goes. They're going to be testing him every opportunity they got. So if he was doing it before he got caught, it's going to be tough for him to do it again now, after being popped, because he's probably gonna have drug testers rocking up every morning, every night, and rightfully so.
Definitely, the dogs are gonna be sniffing around all the time, so I don't think we need to worry about that too much. Now, the division, man, there's so many good prospects like yourself. We saw last weekend Adrian Yanez, he's coming to his own as a young prospect. Casey Kenny, Trevin Jones, Umar Nurmagomedov, Miles Johns. Those are just a list of guys that are not even ranked yet that are just killers. Is this the best division in the UFC right now, do you think?
It's definitely one of the. I mean, it's this division, or it's bantamweight or lightweight in my opinion. But this division, like I just did an interview earlier this morning, and there was a similar thing said. There's probably 10, 15 guys outside of the top 10 that you could argue should be in the top 10 or the top 15. So there's no easy fight there for anyone. Even there's guys coming off losses that are dangerous opponents, dangerous guys to be fighting. So what a time to be a part of such a stacked division. There's no easy fights there at the minute. There's no easy fights there anymore. Every fight you have, you get a victory. It's going to be hard earned, and that's just the way it should be. Obviously, the UFC is ultimately for the best guys in the world. So if you want to be the best guy in the world, then you've got to be prepared to take on the best and take on all comers from rank number 1 down to rank 30 or whatever it is. It's one of them. Every fight's tough, and I'm just excited to be a part of it and to put my name in the mix.
Well, the last time we spoke was in, I believe, October or November, ahead of your fight versus Khalid Taha. Everything was, good to go, and then I see in the news that you had withdrawn due to visa issues. What were the obstacles that blocked you from getting out of the country?
Yeah, so there was a little bit of confusion because basically I was meant to fight Taha on the 7th of November, so I had to go up to London to meet my visa appointment at the US Embassy. And on arrival at the embassy, they wouldn't tell us why, but for whatever reason, it had been shut down for the day. So whether it was a security risk, an emergency, I don't know, maybe shortage of staff through COVID, I'm not sure. But for whatever reason, they said, look, there's no appointments taking place today. So I get back to Wales. Obviously, I get my manager, Graham, on the case. And then the next appointment, or the next sort of time that they could fit me in for a visa interview, because I'd never been to the States before, or I haven't been to the States to fight anyway. So the next time they could get me a visa appointment fell on the day that I was meant to fly out to fight Taha. So obviously that meant that date wasn't doable, because I wouldn't have been able to, attend my appointment, get on a plane and get out to Vegas in time for fight week. So cut a long story short, they rescheduled the visa appointment, but obviously because of the Taha fight, they had to get so many guys had pulled out on that card. So Taha had to stay on that card and fight. Who did he fight in the end? Barcelos, was it? But Rani Barcelos. And so he stayed on that card, and they were looking for an opponent for me for November the 21st. And then we got to 2 or 3 days before I was due to fly. There was still no opponent, and my coaches and manager said, look, we're not prepared to fly out there without an opponent signed, because we make out there and they may see there's no one to step in. So it wasn't so much the visa issues, it was lack of being able to find an opponent in the end that ultimately stopped it for us. But I've got a visa now, I've got an opponent, so fingers crossed we don't come across those issues this time.
You said November, right? They were going to rebook you for November,
yeah.
But there was no opponent. Then why did it take so long to get you rebooked? And now we're sitting in, April. That's your next fight date.
Yeah, so basically, as a team, we was basically in fight because we was meant to fight earlier in November. It was talks of us fighting in October. on Fight Island. And then they said, look, we'd rather you fight in Vegas. So we was basically in fight camp from like a week or two after I fought in July. So it worked out being like 12 or so weeks by the time that the November 7th would have come around. Then they pushed it back 3 weeks. So at this point, I've been in fight camp 15 weeks. You know, my body was feeling it a little bit, you know, if I'm being honest. Wasn't carrying no serious injuries, but just little niggles. So we had to make a decision, you know. It was like, do I take a week off and then take a short notice fight in December or January? Or do I need to like take a little bit of time just to recover you? Because, you know, 16 weeks of fight camp is a long time to be putting your body through the ringer 6 times a week, 3 times a day. So it was more of a selfish decision on my part, where I thought, you know what, if I jump straight back into a fight camp now for like December or January, I'm going to end up burning out. I'm going to end up, you know, either going in there at 900% or pulling like an injury through overtraining. So we decided to, you know, not take December off, but relax in December a little bit, enjoy some time away with the family, and then obviously get back to it in the new year. We wanted to fight in March, but you know, this just so happened to be the date that they came to us with, and you know, we just jumped at it with 2 hands. It's not an ideal situation, obviously, that amount of time between November and fighting now, but you know, you can't dwell too much on the past. We're just happy to have something booked, have an opponent in place, and hopefully, you know, we get this one done.
Yeah, you got someone booked. You have the visa, no issues with that now. You got Hunter Azure. When did you actually put pen to paper? You know, have you known about this fight for a while?
Yeah, I think it was, by the time the fight comes round, I would have had about 9 weeks before they got us. The reason I know it's 9 weeks is because they offered us the fight a few days before my birthday. And I remember thinking, right, so we got 9 weeks now to fight night. So I was able to have a little bit of cake on my birthday. So that's how I knew that it was 9 weeks. But it was, yeah, so we've had a good 8-9 week camp, you know, where we haven't had to rush things. We've been able to do things the right way. It hasn't been a rush camp. To be honest, I was quite thankful as well, because I had COVID-19 the first week of January, and I fell quite ill on it. I was ill for a week. I recovered, but obviously it took me 2 or 3 weeks then to sort of get my level of cardio back to where I wanted it to be, and then the fight news come about then. So it felt perfect timing, to be honest. You know, with all things considered. So, you know, we're just happy as a team to finally be looking at some news and finally being back out there and back in the mix. It feels like it's been a lifetime since my last fight.
It has been a while. Now, when you look at Hunter, stylistically, he's completely different from your first 2 fights in the UFC. What is your breakdown of him?
Yeah, exactly that. You know, very strong wrestler. He's got that wrestling pedigree to his name. He's not the most technical striker in the world, but he swings. You know, when he throws to try and knock your block off. So that's dangerous in itself. You know, when you're fighting someone who's not the most orthodox striker in the world, but they throw from those crazy angles and they throw with 100%, you know, intention, then that's a dangerous guy, you know, especially when he's not a guy you can just think, right, well, I'll just go and take him down, because he's got such a good wrestling pedigree. So he's a tough fight. He's good everywhere, but it's one of them fights where I think we've got the game plan right, and if I come out and execute and fight how I usually fight, you know, whether that be in the wrestle or as long as even if I keep it on the feet, you know, which we're probably going to see a lot more of this fight compared to the last one because of how good his wrestling is. And, you know, my wrestling's good as well, so he's not going to be able to just come out and wrestle me easily. You know, he's going to have an hard time of it trying to get me down. So as long as I keep it clean, keep it nice and tidy, you know, don't get caught up in a windmilling contest with him, then I'm confident that I can get a W.
Yeah, he's, like you said, he's a strong wrestler, and I look at you, and you do have strong wrestling yourself. You might not have that pedigree of the, you know, collegiate wrestling or anything like that, but for MMA wrestling, you're pretty solid, man. And I see you as a guy that wants to challenge himself, so I can see wrestling happening in this fight.
That's it. I've been saying the last couple of weeks, you know, in interviews and podcasts and stuff, don't underestimate the power of the Welsh wrestling. I may not have the accolades, like you said, you know. There's no sort of Division 1 or 2 over here. With the Welsh guys, we don't get a look in for the Olympics and the Commonwealth as much because it's not a big sport over here, wrestling. But MMA wrestling, I feel like I'm without a doubt one of the best in the division, or I can at least compete with the best wrestlers in the division. You know, I'm not gonna not going to be an easy takedown for anyone. You know, I'm sparring with Brett Johns every day, and we've seen the level of his wrestling in his last couple of fights. So, you know, if I'm getting things right against Brett, then I know I won't have no trouble against some of the top guys in the division. So, like you said, don't be shocked to see me nail a takedown and go to work from the top position. You know, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary.
Now, training camp, I seen that you have a bunch of guys that actually fought last weekend, so they were in the trenches with you. What was the environment like through this camp?
Very intense, to be honest. You know, like usually we got quite a big team, so we're used to having like 30, 40 guys on the mat. We're in lockdown at the minute. You're in Wales still, so. The only guys we've had training have been the pros and the guys with fights coming up. Like you said, we had 3 guys booked to fight on Cage Warriors. Obviously myself. We've got guys looking to do the IMAF now in the summer who are classed as elite athletes. We've got Brett Johns again, who's looking to fight, I think May or June time with Bellator. So there's been no easy rounds. Like everyone there. And, you know, when you're in a fight camp, the mindset is different. You know, you approach every session intensely. So the guys that we're sparring with, when they've all got fights coming up and they all got an end goal in sight, you know, they want to win every round just like you want to win every round. There's no rounds off. There's no easy sessions. So it's been very intense, but I've really enjoyed it. You know, the coaches especially have had a lot more free time to focus on us and our fights, you know, completely. They're not worried. They haven't got to worry now about running classes and running privates and just running the gym in general because the gym is closed. All they got to worry about is our fights, the guys we're fighting, you know, and how we're going to approach these fights. So it's been a good one. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to have the gym back open and love to be on a busy mat with 40 guys. But at the same time, just because we're in lockdown, you know, we've still had one of the best, if not the best, fight camp we've had for many, many years.
When you look at Hunter, you know, where do you feel like you are miles above him? Like, let's say if you get into this aspect of the sport, like there's nothing he can do to protect himself. Do you have anything like that?
I think my fight IQ, to be honest. You know, like I said, he's not weak in any area, but I feel like he certain times he gets involved in brawls. When he's wrestling, I think he gets in that wrestling zone where it's just scramble, maybe not necessarily thinking about the grappling aspect or, you know, the fact that he may have to go and fight like another 2 rounds. I think fight IQ wise is where I'm levels above, and I think that's what's ultimately gonna win me this fight is my ability to sort of adapt and think on my feet and not just go out there, you know, tuck my chin down and fight. It's got to be a smart fight for me. Like I said, if I get caught up in the brawl or get caught up in a fist fight with him, then I'm not saying I can't win that way, but it's going to be a tougher night than what it needs to be. So as long as I go out there, keep it smart, you know, keep it nice and tidy, as my coaches say, neat and tidy, then I think that, you know, we'll see the skill difference.
I saw that Hunter, he's predicting a 2nd round finish. What is your prediction?
Man, I think I'll match him. I'll go second. I'm going to predict the 2nd round finish as well. I think the first round is going to be very, you know, back and forth, very close, lots of exchanges. But I think the longer the fight goes on, the more it'll favour me. So 2nd or 3rd round, I think, is where I'll start to take over and obviously ultimately get my game plan. But that's not me overlooking him at all. I appreciate he's the toughest test I've had in the UFC without a doubt, and you know his skill set speaks for itself. The people he's training with, you know, elite level guys, and he's an elite level fighter himself. But you know, this is my time now and my time to show that, you know, show my level and show just where I belong in the division.
You go in there, you know, you take out Hunter. Do you want another prospect next, or would you like somebody that has like a name in the division, you know, someone that has like, let's say 10 fights in the UFC? Yeah,
that's it. I mean, like you said, all things considered, if I come through this injury-free, get a nice win, I'd like to start pushing my way towards a ranking. I mean, I'm not sure if that'll come straight after this fight, but like I'd like to fight a guy who's established, you know, who people know. It's great to fight other prospects and see how you match up, but at the same time now, I want to be getting those names that if I'm not fighting a guy who's ranked, I know I'd like someone who's, you know, who people know, and when I get matched and people say, oh, I recognise that guy, that's going to be some fight. So I think that's the type of fight next that will sort of push me in the right direction. But again, I can't afford to overlook Hunter at the minute. I'm fully focused on him. And obviously, providing this fight goes well, then I'll speak to the coaches and address what they want next and what we think is the next best move. But yeah, it'd be nice to get a big name, or not even a big name, but a well-known name.
Definitely. Well, April 10th, man, UFC on ABC2, Las Vegas. Jack, thank you so much for the time, and all the best, man. It's always good catching up with you.
No problem, mate. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure.